Okay, welcome back, Christian and Unscripted. How's everybody doing?
Great.
I'm here with Seth, who is looking very mad at me because of my sweater. Seth Lazon, John Harney, and I'm Alan Underwood. And I'm wearing a Detroit Lions hoodie. And I should have wore it last week because it was pretty much after the Lions lost. And there's a story behind this hoodie as well. And it's kind of funny. And I feel like it's my fault that they lost. So any Lions fans out there, I apologize. So
no one knew that until just now.
Well,
Why is it your fault?
Okay. So
that sounds right that it's his fault, though.
Everybody who listens and knows me knows I'm a diehard Cleveland Browns fan. But my mom is from Michigan. My mom's family's from Michigan. She lives there now. And my birthday was last week on the 29th. So for my birthday, she sent this. She goes, put this on and root for the Lions. And I do. If the Browns can't win it, I would like to see Buffalo or Detroit win because blue collar, Midwest, I like those kind of hardworking people who root for these teams, right? Not a Detroit Lions fan. I do like their team. It's a good team. I like Jared Goff. And I was like, all right, I'll put it on. I put it on, watch the game. And they started losing. And I'm like, Mom, this is going to be my fault. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm putting this sweater on and they're going to lose. And she's like, no, they're going to be fine. They lost. I'm like, that's because you bought me the sweater and I put it on.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
I will never wear it again.
Yeah, I was pretty
season.
upset. I actually only watched the first half because I was like, this is over. This is like, they're doing horrible.
It was not over at halftime.
Apparently it was because they didn't
No,
win.
they didn't. They did not. So I apologize, Detroit Lion fans and family.
No, I mean, they still had a good season. They still did great. I'm, excited for.
I don't know. They
Lions.
lost in the first playoff game, so I don't think it's a good season.
Yeah, I don't think
here's
that
my thinking.
bye is good for any team.
I just asked all the college football playoff teams. Ohio State won. OHIO.
Yeah. Go Buckeyes.
That
Buckeyes are delicious, by the way. The Buckeye chocolates, chocolate and peanut butter. Those are delicious.
I thought the real ones were poisonous.
No. Only in high quantities.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
But here's my thought on if your team is good. But let's say take the Pittsburgh Steelers because I do not like them. I hope they lose every game. But they always in the playoffs. Their coach I like. He's a good coach. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to win any games in the playoffs. They're not that good anymore. They're always mediocre enough to get to the playoffs and lose. And then you have a low draft pick. If you're going to suck, just suck. The Browns always suck. So you get a high draft pick and maybe one day it'll click and you'll have a Mahomes and you'll win multiple Super Bowls. It's not going to happen for the Browns, but you can always dream.
Someday.
Yeah, not in my lifetime, I'm sure.
If the Browns win Super Bowl, you know that the end of the world is coming.
I'll take it. I'm like, sweet, I can die now.
You become one of those, like you're all of a sudden you change the entire podcast about I can match what Scripture says about the second coming of Christ, the rapture, and Armageddon with what we're looking at with what's happening with the Cleveland Browns. And here's how. Yeah.
The evil Browns beating any other team is just horrible.
It is funny. I kind of agree with you on your sentiment of the blue-collar type teams. Like I'm excited. I want to see what Buffalo, by the way, by the time this airs is a few weeks. We're recording a little bit early for this particular episode, so
we're
we kind of
week ahead.
We don't know where we're at right now. But anyway, okay, I agree with you. I like that though. The blue collar type teams, I always like better. As some of the teams come across as bougie.
That's why I love Pitt. That's why I like Pittsburgh. They're blue collar team.
Yeah, well,
that's fair. That's fair.
I like Mike Tomlin. I think he's a great coach. And
didn't they have the iron?
The old iron curtain, steel curtain.
Steel curtain, yeah. Because the Steelers. I get it.
Hey, but being a Cleveland fan, I mean, I think the Cavaliers got the best record in the NBA. The Ohio State one, that's Columbus, obviously. And the Guardians were in the playoffs last year. I mean, you're not going to win right now. Indians, Guardians. I won't be a Guardians fan until they win the World Series, and I'll say Guardians. But mostly I'm going to say Indians.
Yeah.
The old Indians. I agree.
But they were in the playoffs. They're a decent team. They traded their best defensive player this year, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. They always have a good farm system, though. So.
They do. They're great.
Anyway.
That's baseball.
That's why
John's like, he's zoning out. He's like, what are we even talking about?
Sports.
All right. Hey, by the way, I'm a fan. I've literally been to several basketball games recently.
Yeah.
I really am a sports fan, but I am thinking, man, all of a sudden we're kind of a sports podcast right now, and that's okay.
Okay, let's get back to it. So last week we left off on insurance. We bored people on my daughter's car accident.
Let's retell the entire insurance story.
And this was after we had a couple weeks of a new president as well. We have a new president. We didn't talk about that.
No.
Donald Trump, who I've seen more in 3 weeks than I did in 4 years of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And I am a conservative. I am a Trump fan. I'm not a diehard, like, hey, Trump is the best. I think he's a good president. I think he's a better president than we had the last 4 years.
Oh, agreed.
I'm a Joe Biden fan.
Yeah, I know you are. You have that bumper sticker still.
And that's okay. You know what? Pray for that guy. Yeah. I pray that he has a wonderful retirement. I pray he makes himself right between him and God and seeks a real relationship with Jesus and does amazing things. He was the president. We should honor our leaders because God allowed them or put them there.
But people don't
we honor what God has done.
People will get mad at us because we're talking about Trump.
How funny is this?
Not our listeners, probably.
Well, look at this. Okay, let's talk about a couple things. First of all, if you did listen last week, I'm not going to apologize. What we talked about was that people have a sin nature, and even this sweet little old lady who hugs and says everything is fine, the very next day is like, money, dollar cents. Again, maybe she's not lying. Maybe that little lady.
We think she is, but I'm not going to.
We ended on sort of saying, like, look, insurance, I Google machined it, and the thing on the phone says it was around the end of the night, like right around 1900, just before, 1800 or something. And then after we turned off the mics, we were kind of saying, one of you even said, I wonder how quick it was, or, people probably started lying right away. And it's probably true. Probably the first insurance claim way back then in the late 1800s where it's like, hey, I just want insurance to make sure if I accidentally kill your family member that I can make sure you're compensated because I'm out here rolling around in this newfangled gas-powered machine. And it was probably the first or the second time someone got in a car crash that they were like, wait, you got some kind of coverage that'll pay me? Yeah, I'm for sure dying right now. Can't walk.
First neck brace put on somebody in a wheelchair.
Just like sin entered the world because of human beings having the dignity to make decisions, and one of the first decisions, not one of the first, but pretty early on, Genesis chapter 3, human beings said, wait, you mean I should be getting more or doing more based on the whole temptation of the serpent? As soon as insurance was invented in the late 1800s, one of the first people introduced insurance fraud. Probably that early on. I would guess because that's human nature. The sin nature. They were like, you mean I can get something out of this? And I wouldn't doubt that happened. And so then you mentioned, Seth, is that idolatry because we put our hope and our trust in our insurance policy, but yet it's been sinned and desired. What is the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
It's kind of been destroyed or whatever because of the fact that people just lie. And so the insurance rates are high. It's the purity of what it was meant for has been defiled. That was the word I was thinking of. Based on human nature. So you put your trust in that. And then I shared, I got to get to Trump here in 2 seconds. I watched some super nerdy show. I'm a nerd. I watched it on penicillin and how when penicillin in the 1940s was like the miracle drug. This is the end all be all. And they said like human beings will never suffer from infection again, bacterial infection again, because we have what's called an antibiotic and it's going to change everything. And then they overprescribed antibiotics. And then it wasn't until the 1990s, I didn't realize this, that they realized that now all these things were
born.
Yeah.
I mean, graduated high school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when I was born, 1990.
But they were kind of saying this on this show, and I didn't realize, like I was out of high school, I didn't realize it was that recent that they said they overprescribed antibiotics. We put too much hope and faith and trust in an antibiotic, and now we have ruined it, and now you have all these diseases that are antibiotic resistant because we overprescribed. In other words, we put our faith, our hope, and our trust in something other than Christ. Why the medicine is good, antibiotics are great. I'm going to segue that to a current president. We're so excited as conservatives. Yay, we finally have a president who's going to do right by the country and make good decisions and common sense. We're not wrong on that. No. I'm telling you. Biden was one of the worst presidents in U.S. history. No offense if you're a Biden. I'm just being honest and objective. Look at it. Look at the world situation. Look at the prices of things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I would caution anyone, just like those people who trusted their insurance policies to stay, just like the people who thought penicillin was the miracle drug, I would still warn my fellow conservatives, especially those non-believing, but if you're a Christian, I would say you better focus on Christ. But I would warn anyone who says this is the answer to all things, you better remember that there's only one real hero of humanity, and that is Jesus.
Alan. Oh, Jesus.
You better, and you pray for the leaders. You pray for the leaders, but don't be so disappointed when this guy doesn't make the right decisions all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when his cabinet isn't exactly what you would hope for, and when the people maybe they. By the way, I believe we have good things coming. I really, really do. I'm optimistic.
2 weeks.
Right. You already have seen things in a few weeks that are, I think, amazing. Some that are controversial.
Yeah, and he's going to do things that we're not going to like.
Yeah, I've already kind of disagreed. I think I would have to have a deeper conversation on some of the things he's already done. But what I'm telling you is, as a believer in Christ, even if you're a liberal person, you thought Biden was the answer. You thought Kamala Harris was going to be the answer.
Well,
I would
Seth
caution.
for sure.
Yeah, Seth, we had these conversations. Yeah. I would caution anyone. You don't put your faith in that. You know what I mean? You pray for that. It's kind of like that lesbian bishop lady who was super mean to Trump the first time he went to church.
That was
Miriam
hilarious.
something or other. I can't even, it's how stupid.
I don't know her name. Let me tell you, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The funniest part about that was, I mean, I don't care.
All
You
their
made everybody's face, the rolling of the eyes, the family, the granddaughter of Trump. And I don't know if you've seen it or anybody's seen it. Her eyes, she didn't move her head, but she kept looking over at Trump, at her grandfather. And she's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, like, what's he going to do, dude? Like, he's not going to tolerate this much. That was weeks ago. I know this is old news.
Yeah, because we talked about insurance over the last episode when we should have talked about this. I can reroute everything in the next month.
No, but I mean, let's be honest, though. Here's my point.
Episodes.
Even that lady, I believe me when I tell you, I wholeheartedly disagree with everything she stands for, by the way, because I doubt I don't know if she's a real believer in Jesus. If she is, I don't know if she's really.
She seems like more of an activist. Than
she's for sure just
and
an
I don't
activist.
even know. I mean, that Episcopalian, is that in it? The church?
Yeah, that's what she supposedly is.
Yeah, they're very LGBTQ. What's the word? Like it's part of their faith.
Kind of like a lot of the New Methodist Church, which I'm sad to say. If you when you step outside, I'm not trying to turn this into like that social issue argument right now. But what I'm telling you, if you follow Jesus, you follow the Word of God, you can love anyone who is going down a bad path. But actually,
I think it's a good conversation.
But yeah, it's when you're trying to pray over a president. Let me just go back to this lady. It's an opportunity to pray for the leader. It's an opportunity to pray for the nation, not to chastise that individual. And by the way, if you think you have authority from that pulpit, pastors or bishops or whatever you think you are, and you think it's an opportunity to do this publicly in front of someone, that's probably the wrong place. Maybe you say, hey, can I pray for you separately? Can I have some conversation with you? Yeah. Not on the national stage like this where you show that you're not really a follower. Because I don't know. I've never been, obviously I never will be in that position, I'm sure, where I'm the one who's in front of like the president. But if I was in front of Kamala Harris and she was the new president, I would pray that God might really genuinely impact you by the power of the Holy Spirit, convict and convince you of truth, that you would follow Christ, and I'm praying for that. I'm not, but I don't have to take a personal attack. A little crazy is all I'm saying.
It was crazy. But also hilarious.
Also funny because all of their eyes and their faces.
Everybody.
Old news, I know. But I think I was just kind of going back on all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do you put your hope and your faith and your trust in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
yeah.
Well, I think I told my wife the other day, I was like, I've never been this involved in politics until I would say it was Obama who really got me involved in politics. Not because I liked him or disliked him. I didn't know too much until anti-police stuff started coming up, and being in law enforcement, it put us at risk because people were. Do you remember in Dallas when that all the cops in the parade? I think it was a parade. I don't remember what it was. I'm speaking out of turn on that, but he ambushed a bunch of police officers with a rifle, and they blew him up with a robot. And when he got caught in the thing, and that was just because of all the anti-police rhetoric that came out of the politicians.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking we were in San Diego, and I was like, see, that's when I first started noticing politicians. I didn't notice it with Clinton, although I did notice it with Clinton because I was in the military and he had the don't ask, don't tell rule. And he let me get out of the military early. He was like, if you want to get out, get out. We're going to save money. And I'm like, I'll go.
Yeah.
So I got out and became a police officer. So I guess I did. But then when Trump was in office the first time, it was so much chaos with the media and everything. And I'm like, man, is this guy affecting everybody this much? But people hated him. Yeah. And then Biden, I really believe Biden was the worst president ever. I mean, I don't think we really saw him for 4 years, a couple times.
Almost sad.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's almost sad. I think they just kind of kept this old guy who's been in government forever as a puppet.
Yeah, he wasn't running the country.
If there was ever an example of that, that would be it. You know what I mean? We all can joke and say, oh, this guy's a puppet of that, or this guy's a puppet of that. Right wing, left wing, people kind of say that like, no, he was clearly a puppet of the whatever, right? Yeah. You have to be honest. If there ever was one, it was Biden, because you almost feel sorry for the guy. He's like this crazy old man who's just sniffing girls and, you know what I mean, and tripping and stuff, and doesn't really know what's going on. You almost felt sorry for him.
Yeah, so. And then when he, at the end of his term, he pardoned his whole family, which is weird. If
Pre-pardon.
Pre-pardon. Yeah, what do you call it?
I don't even know, dude.
Yeah, and he did that for like Fauci, and January 6th, the people prosecuted them. And like I said, I don't follow it enough to know what they call this stuff. But and then people got mad when Trump pardoned January 6th rioters.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about at the beginning. And I'm like, I don't agree that he pardoned guys who attacked police officers.
Right.
But I also feel like they did do their time. They did do 3 years, and they did do a lot of things. And from what Trump says, there was no due process. I don't know.
Right.
So I think they should have stayed in jail. If you're violently attacking police officers, I don't agree. But his prerogative, just like it was Biden's prerogative. But that made me tell you, and John knows, I was assaulted several times as a police officer, and they never went to jail.
Right.
I was in law enforcement 23 years, and I got hit in the back of the head with a crowbar, not full swing, but I was able to lean into it, and that guy never went to jail for that.
Yeah.
They pled him out as, hey, you will take this battery on a police officer charge, and you just plead to whatever, vandalism. I'm like, okay, fine with me. I had a loogie spit in my drink.
Yeah.
And that guy never went to jail.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's why I cannot watch CNN, MSNBC. I can't watch these places because I don't believe in their politics. I don't believe in their morals. I don't believe in their values because they're so full of it.
Yeah.
They'll say one thing when it fits their narrative, and they'll say another thing. They don't care about police, these liberals.
Oh, not even at all. Right.
So
but
I don't want to hear it.
Do. Yeah,
but all of a sudden they do.
Sure.
And The View, I don't watch The View, but I see it on YouTube when I'm editing our videos.
They love it.
No, yeah, they're very great. They're
so insightful.
But they're like, what happened to you, Black and the Blue? I'm like, shut up. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, because they've always spewed this anti-police rhetoric.
So I'm glad Trump's in office. I think we've seen him more in the last 3 weeks than we saw Joe Biden in 4 years. I think he's doing a lot of great things, and there's some things I don't agree with. So, and it's going to be like that for 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I'm going to agree with more than what he does than what I don't agree with. So,
I think that's that kind of goes back to even why I even shared that is you can agree, you can disagree, but you really are called to pray for leadership. Mm-hmm. If you really understand biblical principle, you recognize that Jesus Christ controls history. Our God allows or institutes government and governance, and we always are called to pray for our leaders. Mm-hmm. We can critique them and criticize them, but what's that going to do other than, if you're not a decision maker, your vote does matter, of course. That's where that comes in. But once they're there, pray for them. Mm-hmm. But you can't count on them. That's not your salvation, by the way. It might be great, might be bad. I don't know. It's not your salvation, though. Everything can be stripped from us. And how do you recognize, kind of like Job, and everything was gone? How do you realize, to live is Christ. What is the statement I'm trying to say where even Paul says that? To die is gain.
He says, live as Christ, to die is gain.
And gain.
And that's actually, it's funny, that's the first comment or the first verse that sort of came to my mind, but it's not who I was thinking of. I was more thinking of how Job says, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, blessed is the name of the Lord. But that's kind of similar to what Paul was saying, though, too. In other words, nothing else matters, I guess, is all I'm trying to say. And so can you live that way but also be an objective, conservative voter, responsible citizen? There's sort of a balance in that.
Right. And I think, it kind of goes back to our conversation of idolatry in insurance.
Yes.
Let's bring it back to that. And more insurance talk, guys. Sorry, people.
What it is we're subliminally trying to get an insurance company to sponsor us. We need some new equipment. But anyways, keep going.
Like a Christian insurance company where we could say, trust Jesus, but have insurance.
Exactly.
All right, go ahead. Idolatry.
All right. But it reminds me, kind of these things that we're talking about, like when we talk about politics, you talk about all these different things that are going on in our lives, in our country, in our world. And we can tend to focus a lot on those things. And it's, when the things that you have in front of you is what you really become more like. We start to think more highly of people. We start to think more lowly of people. And really, and you think about the reality of our created order. Like we were created in the image of God. And that means, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, all created in the image of God. And you think about these people who speak evil against or speak against and speak harshly about these people, and you think about, this is what I say. I preached a sermon on this at one point in the history, is that if you are full of the Spirit and if you're leaning into the Spirit, one of the things the Spirit will not do is speak evil against itself, because He created us in His image. He's a part of that creative process. And so you can say, for us, when we speak evil against other people, what we're doing is we're saying the image of God is we're attacking the image of God in essence, by pointing out these things about certain people. And I think that is something where you need to point out the untruth in people's living. You need to point out some of the ways that, hey, I don't think you're honoring God in this way. And we do need to bring forth and bring people above and call them higher than where they're at. Whether it's people who are liars, which is 99% of the world, 100% of the world, or it's people who maybe are abusing the power that they have politically. And you could say Trump has maybe done that. Biden did that for sure with pre-pardoning people. And there's these ways that you can look at how you respond to those things. And so the reason I bring this up is because sometimes when we're talking about Trump, we're talking about Biden, and you can have these kind of physical responses to them. And I don't know if that is, and I would say that is not a healthy response from a mindset of Christ. If you're really wanting to follow Christ, to have a response that is to the person, you can, again, like we've said before, we're not fighting against, flesh and blood, but the principalities of darkness and the dark powers of this age. And so this is the battle we're fighting. And so even when I have an argument with my wife, I sometimes can feel like, you're wrong, you're the worst, why are you doing this? But I have to hold her hand and say, no, here's the issue we're dealing with. We're fighting this issue, not each other. And so you start there with this, is you have to look at the issue that's going on is there's untruth and there's deception, and I don't know where it stops, where it begins, and I want to follow Christ. And I think the quote that brought this conversation up is this A.W. Tozer. You guys ever heard of A.W. Tozer?
One of my favorite authors. Yeah.
It's fantastic. But he wrote Knowledge of the Holy. He said, the essence of idolatry is thinking thoughts about God that are not worthy of Him. And I'm just like, that's deep. And to your point, like you
too
think
deep
about
for me.
Yeah, right. When we think, like you said, like there are these necessary things that are going on, and you need insurance, and we need these different things, and we have a present. This is the way that we are ordered. But when we start to think thoughts about them, that makes it so that we're thinking less of Christ or less of God, then that is idolatrous. And so when we are thinking thoughts about Christ that are worthy of Him, we're making Him much in our lives, and we're making the things that are going on in my life less. And obviously we're going to experience suffering. We're going to experience these different things that we've talked about in the past, and we're going to experience disappointment from people and politicians. But if I'm making much of Christ, then my responses won't be out of hurt or anger or abuse or wanting me to verbally say something against other people is what I'm trying to get at. So we think more highly of Christ, we think less of ourselves, not in the sense that we're putting ourselves in danger, but that we're not thinking that I deserve special treatment, or this is what I'm entitled to by everybody to believe that my thoughts are the best thoughts.
Okay. I still don't like Joe Biden as a president, so I'm not changing those thoughts at all. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying you have to be like, all presidents are the best.
Right.
They're all the best presidents. No, I was saying, you can say the untruth. You know that there's untruth that happened, and there's deception that happened in previous administration as well as previous administration as well as
politicians
the previous administration.
Also.
They're all there's. And so what we have to do is say, you know what? My hope, I want to think more of Christ than I do of myself in this world.
Yeah. There's a certain, I don't know, a lot of people, matter of fact, the Colonel Dave Grossman brought it up, I think, many, many weeks ago now when he was on Stoicism. And there was that whole philosophy of like Stoicism. But Greek Stoicism actually really is an amazing Christian attribute if you're a real follower of Christ, where you say, my hope, my trust, everything I have is following the Lord, the creator of all things, who spoke and created all things, who loves me and became a person in Jesus and lived this life. That is who I follow. So when things go sideways, whether it's my candidate that I really pulled for or a candidate that I did not pull for, Stoicism says, I'll pray for that individual. I'll continue to follow Christ. I might agree or disagree, but I'm not going to lose my mind one way or another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to do with kind of being calm,
like
even
the
in
bishop
chaos.
did.
Yeah.
Going back to that lady.
Well,
dude, are you allowed to hit ladies now that they are? If they're like that, are you allowed?
Don't put that. I got to cut that out of YouTube. We're gonna get cut.
Don't talk like that. I was asking a question. You know what I mean? I'm just asking a question. I didn't mean it in a bad way. I'm just saying.
Pastor John.
Yeah.
You're not allowed. Never.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't mean it like attacking a person. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Let's just say though that they want it. Like
you're just digging.
I know.
We don't edit this.
Right,
I don't have time.
I
to
just
edit
made
it.
a crazy left turn. I'm sorry.
All right.
Although she did not look like a lady. Shouldn't have
what
said
are
that.
we saying?
Oh my God! You just went on that whole spiel about loving everybody, and we're just talking
trying
bad.
to be stoic, and then we mess it up. See how fast we fail?
Sinners.
That's the point, guys. That's how fast we all fail. Just like the shifty old lady we talked about last episode, dude.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that many of us put that much effort into actually living a holy life.
Clearly not.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if we were to put like more effort into it, like, I think there would be.
I agree.
There'd be less. There'd be less.
Talking of hitting ladies, bishops.
Less. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't mean it. You know,
is a lady allowed to be a bishop?
I don't.
In the Episcopal tradition, yes, she is.
Listen, let me just clarify though. What I'm trying to get at when I say stuff like that is corporal punishment like a child. When you whine like a child,
I'm just kidding.
Like a little kid, they whine and whine. Every video you've ever seen, they're like a massive whiner, and it just reminds you of like when a little kid won't shut up. It's like
Jimmy
God,
Kimmel.
it's annoying.
Just like Jimmy Kimmel.
It's just annoying is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No,
I was watching
things.
the show, and they had all the late night hosts when Trump, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys are insufferable. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear your whining about the president. Just tell jokes and do your show. Nobody cares about your politics.
Yeah. Well, I mean the truth is they're dumb.
Yeah.
Like,
just like people probably don't care about our politics that much, and we've been talking about
right.
it.
I mean, the truth is that anyone who is in entertainment should recognize over 50% of the people are getting tired of these discussions, these incessant discussions. Now, you can have an opinion, you can make it known,
sure.
but incessantly talk about the same things over and over again it gets on people's nerves.
Yeah.
And regardless of if they agree with you or not, eventually they're going to disagree with you because you keep saying some random thing. It's the same thing with humans, with our parents. With our parents had things that they'd always talk about. Be like, oh my gosh, please don't talk about that again. Yeah.
You know what's funny to that point? It's the same, by the way. Right? Look, again, let me clarify every time before I say this. I really am a right-wing conservative type person. Just because I'm a Christian, like what candidate most matches biblical values? By the way, none of them match it perfectly. Of course not even probably close. But what policies, what party most tries to match biblical ethics and values is what I appreciate the most. That's why I'm a conservative.
Yep.
But on the same note, on the same thing, these insufferable late night, this left-wing media, it really is obnoxious. And I don't have to worry about this. My parents will never listen to this. My mom probably not either, and I love her to death. But that's all my mom listens to is Fox News, real right-wing. And by the way, and I agree, right? I agree. However, for the last 4 years, even same thing, though, the rhetoric never changed on that, of course. And right or wrong doesn't matter. It's just that's the only topic. Like, hey, Mom, the kids are doing great at this. Well, did you see what they said on Fox News? That is literally the response almost 100% of the time.
Whatever happened to just the news, the nightly news, where they just told you the news?
What's happening in the community or whatever, left-wing, right-wing stuff. So my point is it can become insufferable on both sides. Because it really is. Like, I'm not, like, I love her and I'm not trying to diminish, but I'm just saying I can't even bring a single topic up. Like, hey, Mom, did you hear that?
I will say Fox News is the only news I pretty much watch.
No, it's the only one I'll watch if I watch a mainstream. I like local news better, but if I agree with you. I'm just saying that it also can become so much that you forget to be just objective.
Well,
in case anybody on Fox News wants to come on our podcast.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we might. We have friends in Fox News. This podcast does, just so you guys know. We're one call away from several people over there, which is amazing, and it's a blessing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if the person becomes so fixated and focused, that's all they can talk about. It's frustrating.
I like, I know, kind of on topic, off topic, when Michael Jordan was in the NBA, and they wanted him to speak on politics back then, and he's like, no, Republicans buy Jordans too. I'm not going to talk on it, because he wants to sell shoes.
Yeah.
And if you're an entertainer and you're a movie star and you take this hard line stance on politics, you're going to alienate a lot of people who really like your stuff. And that's like Jimmy Kimmel. Such a hypocrite. When he came out, he was on the Man Show and like motorboating boobs and drinking beer and watching girls on trampolines. And I'm just like, but now, and look, you can change.
Yeah.
But don't be that holier than now when, you're talking about Trump because he said grab him in the, in a locker room conversation that was recorded. I mean, I've said stupid stuff in locker rooms, So I'm not holier than now. I know I'm not perfect, and I know he's not perfect, and I know Jimmy Kimmel's not perfect, although he acts like he is now. And that's why I don't like him.
I guess that's the difference.
And he's from Las Vegas. I think he went to your high school. You went to Bonanza?
Yeah.
I think he went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
I'm just kidding.
It's what is interesting about this conversation is that
and we still
you
like
guys
sense.
are
Yeah.
is that you guys are wrong. That's the interesting thing about this.
That's always.
No, I'm just kidding. What's interesting about this is when you're talking about your mom, talking about people is
What are we talking about? Your mom.
I love my mom.
No, I'm saying
She's awesome.
you can
I got to put it on me. I'm giving you a personal example.
This is a theoretical example of a woman that watches Fox News
24/7.
24/7. This is it could be anyone. But also could be your mom and is your mom. But the truth is when you say,
quick, I feel like I watch a lot of Fox News because my wife and I are always watching it. So I might be like your mom.
No, because you also talk about Detroit Lions and Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I love Fox News. I love them. I'm just saying, keep going.
My favorite show is Greg Gutfeld Show. That guy's
It's a good one. Keep going.
But my
just kidding.
So when you
no, keep talking, Seth.
When you watch things over and over again, what it ends up doing is it impacts your behavior, impacts the way you live and the way you speak and the way you think.
Yeah.
Right. I remember I was this old TV show Parenthood. You guys remember that? It's okay. Well, it's Parenthood. It's like 6 or 7 seasons.
From Coach. What's his name was in it?
I don't know.
That was a great show.
Dax Shepard was in it.
Yeah, I like that show.
I love that show. So we Britt and I were married 8-9 years ago. No, we were married 10 years ago, but 8-9 years ago we were watching this show.
Okay.
And we were binge watching. We watched like 10 or 12 episodes, in like 2 days or something. Yeah. And then you find yourself kind of responding in the same way that these characters are responding in, and you get angry in a similar way that this character gets angry, and then you start to realize, oh my goodness, I'm being impacted more than I really thought I was being impacted by this. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring this up is because oftentimes people are discipled by what they're watching.
Sure.
And if you're watching Fox News or CNN, you're going to be a CNN or Fox News disciple.
That's right.
And if you watch, the Bible, you read the Bible.
You watch the Bible.
The Chosen. That's that one.
Okay.
Yeah. You watch.
I sit there a lot of times and don't open it and just watch it. It's much easier to do that.
Yeah, just you keep. But at least you're keeping your eyes. At least you're keeping your eyes on it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But
I need to read it.
The truth is a lot of people are more passionate about politics than they are about Jesus.
Yeah.
And they say, I'm a conservative Christian.
A lot of Christians.
And a lot of people say that. They say, I'm a conservative Christian, love Trump, I got Trump stickers, I got Trump flags. And it's like, and then you have a Bible with a coffee stain on it, and it's got dust all over it.
I would never do that.
And
I dust it off too.
You dust it off too. I at least dust it. Like I'm just I watch it. Like I don't open it, but I dust it.
I'm watching it and I'm dusting it.
Yeah,
but it looks nice. I look very Christian now.
Yeah, yours has dust on it, but it doesn't have dust.
I even got a bookmark in there. Like it looked like I read it.
Every once in a while when people come over, you
I do read it, just not as much as I should. I know this.
Yeah,
but I listen on the Bible.
No, it's no problem. I listen to the Bible all the time. More than you probably. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you do.
No, I don't.
Better.
I don't. But no, the reason I bring that up is because we can get lost as Christians in this discussion and not realize that I'm actually lost in my relationship with Christ as well, because I've thought. Instead of thinking thoughts that are worthy of God, I've actually not been thinking about God at all, and I've been thinking more about Fox News or CNN, whatever it could be. Yeah. And you start to become a disciple of those things. And even with the bishop thing we were talking about from a few weeks ago, you see people who are very anti-Jesus and anti-Christian. They start posting these things like, I can't believe that they're not merciful. They don't care about mercy. It's like that is a manipulation of something. Like, yes, we want to be merciful, and yes, we are to be merciful, but there are you shouldn't use your platform for those things. Yeah. And you shouldn't use those opportunities for what it was used for on either side. But you start to use those things because this is what you're discipled by. You're discipled by. Can you believe that CNN? Can you believe he did this? And you watching The View. You're watching CNN. And you're
I'm not watching The View.
I'm not talking to you.
Oh,
talking to those
you were
who
looking
are
at
watching
me
this.
Right at me.
Well.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
All right. Let's get back on. Let's get back on topic here. Is who are you being discipled by?
Yeah.
Not The View.
Yeah. Yeah. You aren't, but there are other people. There are other people.
Well,
that
he said
maybe
The View,
see
and then
it.
he touched me.
Yeah.
Like, watching The View.
Remember The View? Like you said, you talked about The View earlier. And,
I know.
but
They cracked me up.
I bet you those ladies. I don't even know who's on it. I know Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg, but I mean, maybe they're nice, maybe they're not. I don't know, but it's interesting they use a platform to kind of just spew garbage. It seems that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's 100%
anyone
that
does.
way.
Everyone does. I mean, you watch.
Everybody.
Everyone uses, like, you look at most podcasts. They always talk about, they have all these word salads that mean nothing, and they're just talking about random things that have no.
You mean
meaningful.
unscripted?
Like,
You mean
Like if they're
unscripted
like we
conversation?
do,
like no,
we are.
like
That
you're
go
like
on
talk
and on about
unscripted-
insurance or football teams.
Yeah, like random things like
Or
that, like
Trump or
insurance. Like
Biden.
nobody cares about insurance. No, but like
We're the
other-
least Christian podcast there is, man, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
John's punching women.
I'm not punching anybody, dude.
Oh,
John,
were
why are you
talking
punching women, dude?
about-
We
Anyway,
need to have
finish
a
your thought.
discussion
Finish
about
your
this.
thought, man.
All right, I'm finishing my thought. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. Here it is, guys.
Okay. Do you remember what you were talking about? Or did
No,
you just
but I'm gonna recap what I just
Oh,
said.
no,
Clean
don't.
this up.
I'm gonna
Clean this
it
up.
Okay.
No, don't recap it.
While you may
Just
have a
finish it.
certain view of the election, you may have a certain view of policies.
Yes.
The truth is that it's not really, for most of us, it's not really a view that's saturated in the Bible, because we've watched so much of one news thing or this social media thing
Or The View.
Yeah. And so you want to, as Christians, maybe be like, okay, my personal views aside, which I have seen and I agree with Trump doing this thing or Biden doing that thing, sure, whatever it is, you need to look at your own process of discipleship, because you can claim Christian, as everyone does,
Right.
but are you actually understanding biblical realities that are laid out in Scripture? And I think you can generically say, I think conservatives have some more, seem to be more biblically based, certainly because of abortion, and possibly my view on economics and those types of things,
The military.
and
Police.
those kind of things. But the
Common sense
truth
stuff.
is that
Safety in our
if you're
country.
using
Sorry.
if you're using those things as if you're not using actual Scripture to be like, I understand what God is teaching me to do, and you're just basing it off of generic Sunday school teachings, maybe, then you might need to go back to the Bible
Correct. I
to
do.
be discipled by the Bible.
I just keep looking
And
at me
by
when you tell
Jesus.
me when you say these things. You're like
I've
staring
been
through my
looking
soul.
at you the entire time because
But
I
I mean-
look through you.
But
You
I
need to
get
get
what
back to the
Alan is
Bible.
saying. It feels like a real. But you know what though?
You know
hey,
what, Alan?
if
You
it's
can go-
convicting and the shoe fits,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
So we
Yeah.
went to funny. We went to church last night because we went on Thursday night, or whatever Thursday was. I don't know this podcast. We filmed
Several weeks ago.
This
Yeah.
one, this one is a weird.
and it was the
day.
one on tithing, and I was like, I gotta tithe more. And I'm like, I was convicted. I'm like, and now I'm broke.
Hey,
But I did it cheerfully.
Yeah.
You know what? Isn't that interesting? Sacrifice. I just listened to a message
Yeah.
by Chip Ingram on sacrifice. How it doesn't mean like just giving or tithing. It literally means like you are giving something up that might actually cost you. It's
Yeah.
costly.
I
That's
like it.
sacrifice. So
Yeah.
good job being sacrificial of your
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know
Yeah,
what I
some
mean?
people have said like in our that give to the point where you're carrying a cross in the lifestyle that you used to live.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Which, by the way, in that same sermon, good job, Seth. That's what he talked about. And even back then, how Christ would say, like, to bear your cross. Put that in modern terms, like, you're willing to go the electric chair. Like, that's like,
Yeah.
that was a form of death, right?
Yeah.
So interesting. Do
Yeah.
we need to make I've got a list, by the way. I created a list of all those apologies that we might need to make
Go
before
ahead.
we.
Write it down. Apologize to the bishop in the Episcopal
Well,
Church.
right here.
Whatever her name
Apologize.
was.
Don't joke about slapping people around. That's not apologies for that. No one jokes about
Yep.
that. But the point was like corporal punishment when you whine a lot. But no joke. Apologies. Don't joke like that.
You felt
I need to-
convicted on that one.
I
didn't you?
did, and I need to apologize to my mom. Mom, I'm sorry. She again probably won't listen
Right,
because
right. No.
but apologies.
I thought they did listen. They said you talk too much,
they probably listened like one time,
and
they
they're
said
like,
you talk
"Don't.
too
Our
much."
son talks too much. We're not listening no
My
more."
mom listened to one of my sermons from church. She's like, I felt like you talked too much.
That's
I'm
your
literally
job.
the preacher, but okay.
All right, go on with the list.
So apologies to my mom.
She's like, I hate your voice.
Yeah, basically. That's basically in summary. Apologies to the lefties and the Biden lovers and the Biden family if we offended any of them.
Well, how you said that is Really, not an apology.
Well, that's the worst president of all time.
Yeah,
Apologies to Fox News and Fox News lovers. It's my favorite news as well, aside from local news. But apologies if I offended you because it's your favorite thing to watch.
I accept your apology.
Apologies to Seth per usual.
We just need to apologize every time we turn those cameras off.
Beard issues, just everything.
This is bumper stickers.
Alan cuts you off constantly. Apologies. Yeah. I'm apologizing on.
You're apologizing.
I apologize.
Behalf of Alan.
Apologies to the Detroit Lions, mostly the Detroit Lion fans, for Alan ruining the game.
I ruined their season and their defense getting hurt.
So. I'd like to apologize to Browns fans for also Alan wearing a Detroit Lion shirt and showing that they're never going to win.
They're probably happy that
that's right. I apologize to the Browns for saying that the end of the world will happen if they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would be okay with that if they won.
And apologies to fans of The View. I don't know anything about that show, but if you love that show,
I don't apologize.
You ever watched Sister Act? Whoopi Goldberg was so good in Sister Act.
She was so good. She was
in Ghost as well.
Yeah. Oh, wait, and apologies to all those kids who grew up with Jimmy Kimmel and he's still their idol. I don't know him. I think he seems like
I don't apologize
idiot.
for that either.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody thinks.
He's got a mom, dude.
So what? I got him.
She's probably a shifty old lady who does insurance fraud.
She's probably the lady who hit my daughter's car. Her last name was Kimmel. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, are we done with apologies?
Yeah.
The views expressed on this podcast are not necessarily those of... Wait.
They are the views of this.
They are our views. So, and if you don't like them, I guess you don't have to listen.
We're not really... We're not real educated.
A couple hundred of you anyway.
Yeah.
There's only a couple hundred listeners anyway. I'm sure they understand what we believe in anyway.
It's fine. You know what?
Yeah.
I say we wrap it up.
And we have our token Democrat on the show, Seth.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm not denying that, though it is not true.
Okay.
So I get it.
All right, that's it. We're done. This was a long episode. I didn't want to go this long.
Hey, listen, be blessed, man.
Be blessed.
We ultimately, there's one source of all joy, peace, and happiness, and that's Jesus, man. We just mess around otherwise with all this stuff.
Yep. Should be my podcast.